I am Dr. Tamika Manning. I am an educator, an author, a writer, and a filmmaker, and I am live on People Street with Dr. Taj.
What's up, y'all? We're here with none other than the illustrious, the beautiful Dr. Tomekia Manning. How you doing, girl?
Dr. Taj, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm so happy that you were able to come to People Street today. You know what I'm saying?
Happy to be here.
Uh-huh. Listen, y'all, this is a very inspirational young lady who I met as part of I guess a trio of doctors based out of Dallas, Texas, doctors of different disciplines. But I think that in order for us to truly experience the person, we have to let them introduce themselves. Can you tell us, who are you?
Oh my gosh. I am a person of, I would like to say, many talents. I'm an educator. I am also a writer. Just co-wrote and co-created a film basically centered around domestic violence and actually something that I have experienced also.
Hmm.
And I've been a fitness trainer, I'm an author, and just an overall, I mean, just go getter. I love to go out. I love to explore new things. I love to take risks. It keeps my life interesting. So, guess you could say I'm a jack of all trades.
Okay, okay. So, Dr. Tamika, take us back. What type of doctor are you? Okay. Is that something that you always wanted to be?
No. Actually, I never wanted to be in education. I went to school to become a journalist, and I actually did just that. I worked in television for 7 years for NBC in Shreveport and East Texas, Texarkana, Texas, and I absolutely loved it. And that was what I feel I was born to do. After a while, I became somewhat bored and wanted to a transition into education because I felt like it was more stable. I said, eventually, I probably want to have a family. And I saw that a lot of the people in the newsroom, a lot of the people were single. They were moving around a lot, very mobile. And I thought, maybe I'll try education to kind of see if I can, sit back, settle down. And so I transitioned into education. At first, I thought, no, I felt like I was confined because as a journalist you're on the move, you're everywhere. Something happens, you have a story already ready to go for the day, and you come in and five people are dead in a house fire. So you
Hmm.
dump your story that you've had packaged and canned, and then you go out to the scene. And of course, I'm a pretty emotional person. I think that's why I like to be in the filmmaking industry, and I would often cry with the people when I'm out.
Mm.
So I would feel what the people felt when I was out there in the field, when I was reporting. And so that's how it all begun. I love writing. I love being creative. I wake up out of my sleep sometimes and I'll
Mm.
jot down things that I've seen in my sleep. Like, for example, one of the scenes from this most recent movie, I saw that actual part of the movie, excerpt from the movie years and years and years ago, and I wrote it down in my journal and I didn't know what it was. And I woke up and I said, "Oh, that's a movie." And so this movie opens with the main character running away from the aggressor and the abuser. And I remember the person in my dream that I recorded in my journal years ago running away. I didn't know what the person was running away from, but it turns out when I revisited that, I thought, this is what I saw many years ago. And it was literally what I envisioned. And even in the movie, when we scored the movie, when we were working on the movie, I told the director, I said, I want to hear the heartbeat. I want to hear her heartbeat as she's running away. And we made it happen. So this movie is interesting. Again, I'm all over the place, but that's where it began. It also goes back to when I was a child. I was nosy as hell. So when something happened in my community, in my neighborhood, my godmother had a scanner. And so I would hear something happen and I would run over and across the street and tell my mom, "Hey, let's go down to the store. Something's happening. Let the police are there." And I didn't realize that it would catapult me into the job that I actually loved of being nosy and going out to report, to ask questions, to find out what's happening with people. And so that's pretty much where it began.
So let me ask you this. Where are you from originally?
I am from a very small town of about 15,000 people called Minden, Louisiana. It's about 20 miles east of Shreveport, Louisiana.
So you can cook.
Kind of cook, yeah.
You know how to
I like to
cook?
say I can cook.
Oh, okay. 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 Can you throw down, Dr. Tamika?
It depends on what it is. I still have not mastered gumbo, even though I'm from Louisiana. I
You
have
know, I was just
not.
about to ask you, can you make some roux?
I'm not good with that. My mom is great with that, but I can do greens. I can do hot water cornbread. I can do yams. I can do I could do beef tips and rice, roasting
Mm,
potatoes. Yeah, I could do some southern down home cooking.
okay, okay. So listen, in your childhood, Dr. Tamika, you're very educated. This our guest, is very inspirational for a number of reasons, but very, very educated. You have how many master's degrees you got?
Yeah,
Three master's
sometimes
degrees.
I'm ashamed to say that, but yes, I have three
No,
master's
no,
degrees.
no. Hey, listen, I think it's uber impressive, and you have a doctorate. Are you the first person in your family to take it that far?
To take it that far, yes, but education was a staple. My mom, my dad, they made sure that once we were transitioning from high school that we were going somewhere. The older siblings, I have five sisters, the older siblings were helping to prepare you to get paperwork done and all of that because they had been there before. My oldest sister, educator, went to Grambling State University. My sister after that went to trade school to become a nurse. My other sister went to school to be a nurse, ended up being a medical technologist. So she went to Grambling. She has a master's degree. My sister, under that, social worker, master's degree in social work, counseling. My master's degree, one is in counseling, one is in educational leadership, and then one is actually in what I like to say humanities, literature, ELAR. I taught on the junior college level for about 4 or 5 years as well. For the most part, my youngest sister went to University of Monroe. I mean, the names have changed, but that was what was expected of us to go to school. My mother graduated high school. My dad didn't make it past sixth grade. So it was very important. He went into the military, but he was big on education. He was extremely intelligent, my mom as well, but he read all the time. Now think of this. He didn't go past the sixth grade, but all I saw him do was read, research. He could tell me so much, going into the military. And he would often get on to me because he would ask me questions. So you want to be a reporter, but you don't know this and you don't know that in history. So he felt like I needed to know all these things to become successful as a reporter. Although, it is great to have a lot of knowledge and background on a lot of stuff, but he would say, "You're not going to make it," So he was tough. "You're not going to make it if you don't read, if you don't learn this." However, when I became a reporter, I was visible to my family. And then, of course, he's bragging, like, "Did you all see my daughter? She's on television." So I would go back and say, "But Daddy, remember you said that I wasn't gonna do it. I wasn't gonna make it." And so he'd be like, "Oh yeah, I just was worried, because he said I need you to go be an attorney or be in the medical field because he felt like I would always have a job. But I've never been out of work, so it worked.
So, Dr. Tamika, when you were a reporter, were you ever one of those reporters that were out there in the middle of a hurricane and about to be blown away?
I did a couple of weather stories. The majority of my reporting was mostly like community oriented events because where I worked in East Texas and Shreveport, there was not a lot of stuff going on. We didn't have a lot of bad weather. But whenever I did, let me just say this, I was a little spoiled. And if it was something I didn't want to cover, I would call my mom and then she would say, "Just quit. It's not worth it. Just
Yeah,
quit." And I
yeah.
would say, "My mom said that I can quit today because," and then they would be like, they put me on another story.
Shout out to moms, you know what I'm saying? Strong arming the producers.
"Yeah, you're not gonna risk your life for a job, And I'd be like, "They got us out here. A man killed his family, and they got us out here going to the scene." And so, and they had bag phones, and so I'm like, "We got to get to a signal because I gotta call my mom." And so my mom be like, "Oh, no, you can't risk your life, no." And so literally, I would tell them that, and they'd be like, "Well, just come back, just come back to the station if y'all are afraid." Yeah, we are afraid. We're in the middle of nowhere, and Crazy Joe just shot and killed his wife, his
Yeah,
estranged wife, and her boyfriend, and we're out here looking for him. He's had survivalist training. He was a former Marine, and we're riding around in a news car.
yeah,
So
yeah. Not feeling that.
feeling it.
at all. Take me to you. Better yet, let's back up a little bit. Where'd you go to undergrad? And how was your undergrad experience?
My undergrad experience was nice. It was very nice. I went to Louisiana Tech University,
Mhm.
University in Ruston, Louisiana. The
Is that the
majority of
same? I'm sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt. Is that where Carl Malone went?
it is. It is.
Yeah.
Karl Malone. He was a great basketball player there. And I kind of defied I mean, the rest of the family, they all went to Grambling State University, and I was like, oh, they would come home and kind of complain. You know how the HBCUs can be a little sometimes where they lose your paperwork, you're standing in a long line, and
Yeah.
I don't, what's your name again? So when I saw my sisters deal with that, I told my mom, I'm not going to Grambling. I'm going to go to Louisiana Tech. So I was the only one. And my processes were amazing. It was great. It was 14% African American. I danced in college because I was a cheerleader in high school. So I danced. And it was a great experience. I met some very seasoned people, people who had traveled. I would go home sometimes with people that I met, but it was fun. So I still hung out with my friends that went to Grambling because it's 8 miles away. But
Okay.
my experience in Louisiana Tech was a great experience.
What drove you beyond your bachelor's degree to get advanced degrees?
Okay, so when I decided to leave Shreveport, Louisiana, because I went back to the main station to work, I thought, okay, I'm going to go into education. So I'm going to go back to school and get a master's degree. Wasn't sure what, thought, if I move into education, this will be great for me. So I got a master's degree. And then after I got the master's degree, I thought, okay, really, I actually want to teach. And so then I got a master's degree in educational leadership because I thought after I taught for about 3 or 4 years, let me go ahead and get my principal certification. And in order to do that, you have to have a master's degree in educational leadership.
Word.
Yes, you have
Gotcha.
to have a master's degree in that. And then, of course, once you do the coursework, you take the certification to be certified as a principal K-12.
Gotcha.
So that was my rationale for that. And then when you go to Prairie View, because of course I ended up getting my master's from Prairie View, if you take counseling, then if you take 6 more classes, you get your ed leadership. If you take ed leadership, you take 6 more classes, you get counseling. So therefore, I was like, okay, I got my master's degree now in ed leadership. I took 6 more courses, and then I got my master's degree in counseling, which I didn't show up for because my mom was like, do not go back to school because you have enough degrees. By this time, I had 3 degrees. They just mailed it to me. And so I was done. So I said, I will never go back to school. So then, um, as I was kind of climbing the ladder, and I was like, you know what? I think I may look at a doctoral program because one of my friends had gone through a program, and I just had begun to research, and so I'm like, this program. This may not be too bad. So it took me about 3.5, 4 years to complete my educational leadership and management degree, which kind of coincided with the previous degrees. So I'm officially done forever with courses, classes, no more classes. I don't even really go to training because I've done it. And so I pretty much those years that I devoted to going to school, I didn't do a lot outside of that. Like I didn't do a lot of movies or I didn't do it because I was always writing a paper or staying up all night or sleeping, writing, sleeping, writing. And so I did that. And then once I was done, I felt like lost. Like I've been in school pretty much all my life. And so I felt free and I'm thinking this is probably why I've transitioned over into the filmmaking because things that keep me busy and keep me occupied and keep my mind going is always, I don't know, it's purposeful for me.
That's really inspiring. But tell me this: how did you come to be involved with filmmaking?
So, as a result of the Chamber Talk Show, The Doctors of Dallas, where, of course, we started with 4 doctors, one a medical doctor, anesthesiologist, Dr. Kanisha Hall. She is out of Houston. And then I had a psychotherapist, Dr. April Givens. I had Dr. Tamara Cannon. She's a psychotherapist. Well, I may have it backwards. One is a psychotherapist and one is a psychologist. And then myself, which is an educator. So we merged the four of us together to talk about this holistic approach to wellness. So you could pretty much ask us anything. It could be education, it could be something medical. And of course, remember, we coming out of COVID, we all needed therapy. And
Hmm.
those 2 therapists were absolutely amazing, Dr. Givens as well as Dr. Cannon, because they counsel every single day. So when we put the 4 of us together, it was an amazing experience. But of course, we're all having busy lives. We're all moving around. Dr. April has 2 kids. Dr. Kanisha was working in the COVID unit. She had the hazmat suit. And so we did a few live in-person shows here in Dallas and then one in Houston. You may remember when Floyd, what was his first name that was killed? The one
George
that was killed,
Floyd.
George Floyd. We went out there, we went to where he lived in the housing project, and we filmed a show with some people that went to school with him. And he, oh, it was an amazing experience. But yeah, when we first started our show, we filmed the very first show was filmed in Houston.
What was the biggest thing you learned from that experience of going to George Floyd's environment?
Man, I think the biggest thing that I learned is that, oh gosh, it was so much, is that people really care for each other. Because I illegally joined the group of people that went to the school where he went to high school. And so it asked me questions, and because I wanted to get inside of, just to get an inside view of what people thought about him in real life. And
What they say?
they just talked about how mannerable and mild-mannered he was and always gracious and a peacemaker and a genuinely nice guy. And so in that group, I found a lady that had his daughter in her dance group. His daughter was a dancer. And I
Mm.
met her and we interviewed her as well. She didn't disclose a lot about the little girl. After the officer was convicted, she did post about the victory and the victory for the little girl because she didn't understand a lot of what was going on at the
Yeah.
time. She
Yeah.
asked, "Where is my dad?" But this same lady in Houston deals a lot with Beyonce and Beyonce's mother because she's from Houston and there's a connection there. So she was always very discreet about things, but yeah, she knows Beyonce's mom and she had George Floyd's daughter in her dance troupe. And so I met her. She was on the show. I'm still friends with her on Facebook. I met another cousin of George Floyd who actually became somewhat afraid to do the interview because of all the litigation. And so he was like, I don't want to say the wrong thing. I can talk to you off camera. But yeah, I went looking for people. We walked the area where the grocery store that went to every day as a child. They did a mural outside of there. We went out there, we took pictures, we talked to people, and I just learned like people do rally and come together in times like that. And so many of the people that went to school with him, they honored him, and so it was an amazing experience.
Rest in peace to George Floyd.
No.
So, Dr. Tamika, you are an actress. You are now a writer. Movie. When did you get involved in film? How did that happen?
Okay. So, as a result of doing the talk show, the podcast, there was a movie director who saw the podcast and said, my mom experienced domestic abuse. I would like for her to come on your show. I would like for her to talk to you all. She needs therapy. Left it at that. She needs therapy. So, we started conversating through Messenger, and she comes back and she says, I am a filmmaker. I've done a couple of movies. She's from Memphis, so she had done some movies before. And she said, I'm going to move to Dallas. And if I move to Dallas, I'm going to reach out to you and I'm going to make you a part of my movies. I'm like, yeah, right. But okay. She moves to Dallas about a year and a half later. She reaches out to me and says, Hey, love to meet up with you. I moved to Dallas. By the way, I have a role for you in an upcoming movie. Again, I'm like, yeah, right. Okay, sure. I get a script and I get an NDA, and I was like, oh,
Oh,
I
this for
landed a
real.
role in a movie. Like, this is real. So I put it out. I started learning my lines. got a little emotional. Okay, like this is real. This is a full movie. Like I'm going through this, and bam, we film the movie. We go to Atlanta for the movie premiere. It's surreal, but at the same time, eventually, once the movie comes out and we talk, and she said, "Yeah, like when you're in your therapy sessions," and I go, "What therapy sessions?" She was like, "You're a therapist." And I said, I'm not. I'm an educator. I said, the show that we did had two therapists on there. She said, well, oh, well, I loved you in it, so I'm going to keep putting you in my movies. That's how I got into being an actress. Although I wanted to be an actress years ago when I was a journalist. And so I was like, I was afraid. You know, I was operating in fear, and I thought, oh, I'm not. But when the cameras come on, it's my happy place. Did that role, came back next, did the movie called Grimy Situation with her and the same that same director, Nakiba Bryant, and loved that. I played a parole officer in that, and oh my gosh, it was a lot of work, a lot of staying up late, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, filming all night. I remember they filmed the scene at my house here, and I kept falling asleep. So they were like knocking on the door saying, Tamika, it's your turn. You got to get up. Because I had a scene upstairs in one of my bedrooms where I was asleep. So I was so happy I didn't have to put on makeup. I didn't have to do I was like, I'm asleep anyway. So when the parolee or the officer called me, I'm just waking up to him calling me, and I had been asleep anyway, so it worked out perfectly. I was like, yes. But yeah, we stay up a lot all night when we're filming. We film for hours. Sometimes it's hot. We filmed in an abandoned warehouse for that same movie, and we were running into the warehouse probably 20, 30 times full speed. I came home. I couldn't even wear my clothes into the house because they were full of dirt. My shoes were full of dirt. It was grueling because it was almost like 90 something degrees at night, and we were filming, and I probably got home about 1 o'clock in the morning from filming from 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So I was exhausted.
Dang. So y'all were grinding.
We were grinding. We were grinding.
A shout out to Nakiva Bryant. Shout out
Yes.
to that sister that's doing her thing.
Mhm.
What was the name of the first? Was the first movie
The first movie was called Irreversible Desires.
Irreversible Desires, and your second movie was Grimy Situation?
Yes, grimy situation. By the time I made the third movie, I had met my now director, Keenan Bean, who I work hand in hand with. So we created Deep Seated Thoughts. That's the latest movie. And I met him. We went to Prairie View A&M to film Back to Basics. It's kind of like what you might reminded you of what was this show after the Cosby Show, kind of the spinoff when they were in
Different
college?
world.
Different World. Yeah. So it was young kids, and then of course me, myself, I was a board member. Money came up missing. We were trying to, and then of course the kids in college have issues. So then we filmed that. It's on Amazon Prime. People can go out and watch it. It's on Foxum as well. But yeah, we filmed that movie. I met him then. Then I had an experience with domestic violence, and I quiet about it. I told no one about it because I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. And so from there, I decided to disclose to Felicia, who was the one that pulled me into the movie Back to Basics, what had happened. And I said, I want to do a movie in relation to what I experienced with this person. And she goes, okay, let's talk to Keenan. We talked to Keenan. Keenan said, you guys come out Tuesday. We started building the characters right then. Who do you want this person to be? What's the name of this person? And we were pulling in people. We want her to do this. We want this. But this is how I want the ending to be. Because there's a lot of twist in this movie, Deep Seated Thoughts. So people are already telling us, like, is there a part two? Please, we're trying to figure out what happened in this and this. So I told him from the beginning, this is what I want the ending to look like. So we began to put it together. In 2 weeks, the script was done. And
That's amazing.
after the script was done in 2 weeks, we began to set dates for filming and locations. And oh my God, if you just see the grid of what that looks like, it's so tedious. Keenan is a mastermind. I mean, he is a genius in terms of pulling it all together because there's so many moving parts to pulling together a film and getting everybody in place and what they're wearing and what time to be there. I mean, one night we filmed, it was like 5 in the morning. And because you can't have anything like air conditioning or heating going. We were in the house like we were freezing, but we know we couldn't turn on the heat because the sound guy, everything, it picks up everything. A pen can fall and it'll pick it up, and the sound guy will be like, "Who dropped the pen? Like who did?" That's
Yeah.
how sensitive it is. But we would be up all night. And then, of course, I got to get back to the school, get back to the kiddos, get back to education, get back to my day job, and still work it like there's nothing. So, yeah, even as we speak, somebody's sending me a message about doing a short film for their movie. So it's exciting. It's fun. I absolutely love it. I live for it. Yeah, I'm ready to go higher.
What is your day job, by the way?
So by day, I am an assistant principal. I've done education for 23 years. I taught for about 9 years, and the rest of that has gone into administration, pod leader, department chair, test coordinator. I've done all of those positions. I'm currently an assistant principal at a middle school in Dallas. And when I say some days I hit the ground running, from the time I walk in the building at 8 o'clock. Sometimes I'm walking until 2. I'm observing teachers. I'm doing discipline. I'm talking to parents. I have meetings. I have trainings. And I was walking out one day. It was about 4:30, and I was eating my wings, my lunch, which was my lunch. 'Cause I
What
didn't have
fla-
lunch
what
at the end of the day. What'd you say, Dr. Todd?
what flavor were the wings, Dr. Tamika?
They probably were lemon pepper, and that's the story behind the lemon pepper wings. This is the
We love some lemon pepper wings, don't we?
lemon pepper wings. Yeah.
Okay. So, I had a guest on a couple of episodes back who's a domestic violence expert here in Atlanta. Her name is Ashley Harris. And we, of course, talked a lot about it. And, it's obviously a sensitive topic, but one that you have clearly chosen to address head on through your art. What would you tell anybody that's going through that situation, Dr. Tamika? What would be your advice?
First, it's easy to say run for your life because people have different situations. Some people can't leave as easy. In my case, this is my home. So I live here. I didn't have to go anywhere. But I would tell people, and this is an actual excerpt in our film. I do a scene where I am the mother of a shelter, and we do a rally in the movie. And in the movie, we chant, "Don't stop telling." That is the theme for that actual scene of the movie. Don't stop telling. We have people out, that were there at the rally itself, and they had T-shirts on that said "Don't stop telling." And we had signs, "Don't stop telling." Because what happens all the time, people they pull back. It's embarrassing, so they don't tell anybody. They get quiet, and then they live that private life of abuse when there's help available. If you need to leave, there are shelters that will take you in and help you get on your feet and pay. You don't have to pay for anything. Family members that will take you in. But here's the thing. A lot of people suffer in silence. And Dr. Hornbuckle was there last night. We had a panel after we showed the movie last night. We had a police officer. We had a lady whose daughter's head was shot off with a sawed-off shotgun by her boyfriend when she was in high school. And so they have gone up, written legislation to keep the killer from being buried in the same grave site at the same grave site. And that's what happened. His family buried him beside her daughter. And so that law has changed. That can no longer happen. The victim and the actual cannot be, how do I say this?
Buried together.
They cannot be buried together.
I've heard of that happening before, and I thought that was crazy when I heard it. I mean, just kind of from some of my own experience, I was like, "That's crazy." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, wasn't having it. The only way they were able to identify her daughter was by the ring that she had on her finger, but her head was blown off, and then he took his own life. And last night she was on the panel. This event was sponsored by the NAACP and the City of Grand Prairie Police. And so we had a huge panel of people that talked about it after the movie, and people came up talking about restraining orders and what that looked like. And it was just sobering to see how Dr. Hornbuckle shared that she has 4 or 5 sisters, and every last one of them have been victims at some point of domestic violence. And she's a well known person in this area. She has a church, she's a pastor, and her former husband as well, who went to jail from a scandal. It was such an amazing event last night, but don't stop telling is what we say. And we're trying to just ingrain that in people. Don't stop telling. Like, tell somebody so that you can help somebody because you may save a life.
How did you survive?
Man, for me, thankfully, I wasn't actually killed because when I experienced it, I did take some head injuries and face injuries. And I never looked back. I know a lot of women go back. For me, you can never be in my presence. For me, it was so bad, I didn't file an order, protective order. The cops did it themselves once they came to the house. Yeah. So the cops did it. Ambulance came. My friends were like, my family, no, we're gonna take her because it was an officer who was dead set on you were gonna leave in this ambulance. Our pressure had gone up from from just all of that, the injuries. But they said you're gonna either leave in this ambulance or you're going to go with the family. And if the family, and they said, no, we got it. And so when the police left, I'm like, I'm going to be okay. They said, oh, no, 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 no. So I did. I had to go and get a CAT scan and all of that just to make sure everything was okay. But I was pretty banged up. But I made a conscious decision at that time that it's not something that I'm going to hide because other women need to know, especially if they're dealing with something like that, because there are so many people that die just that quick. Like, it happens so fast, and I'm thinking in my mind, oh, this is it. Like, I'm literally gonna die because I was blindsided. I never would have thought that person would have attacked like that, but it was sobering. It was scary. It was hurtful, embarrassing. Any adjective you could think of, that's what it was for me.
Lord have mercy. Glad that you survived that. Did you seek therapy out afterward?
I haven't, I because I have friends that are therapists, and I know that's not the official thing to do. Um, but it's so crazy. My schedule has been so crazy. I kept saying I'm gonna find a therapist just to kind of help me walk through what happened. I almost feel like good, but there are triggers like the ladies spoke about last night. It's certain things that'll happen and that you're literally triggered, and I say that because often I just want to be alone. Like, I don't want to be around a lot of people. I don't trust people. I get messages a lot from gentlemen, messengers and messages and hey, and are you single? And I just like I don't want to entertain for the most part because that, like I said, that was such a scary experience. You lose trust. And sometimes you lose trust in people and you're like, I'm good. So yeah.
What do you think that it'll take for you to open up to love in the future?
Honestly think I probably do need therapy. I think that will help restore my faith in, people, I guess, when it comes to that. And I said to myself that I was going to take this summer to just take time to find a therapist, whether it's virtual or in person, to help walk through that process and what I experienced and what I went through. Just because you couldn't have paid me $1 million to say, oh, this person would do something like that. So now I'm questioning me, like, oh, you have a poor choice in picking people in the track record. So I think I'm gonna spend a little bit of time. School was out yesterday. Ooh, yay, yay, educators.
Okay.
Yeah, school was out yesterday. So I had said I was going to take some time to go through that process and find a therapist.
When you look at the Puffy and Cassie thing, what were your thoughts? What are your thoughts about the whole thing?
Anger, shame, very sad for her because, like it's so humiliating that a person is that bold because they know, if you look at it, typically men are a lot stronger than us. I am licensed to carry, and one of my friends was like, "You should have shot him. Like, what is your problem?" Like, she was so upset with me. Like, you should. And then you think about hindsight, going, Johnny, you still don't even want to kill somebody's kid, even though. But if it comes down to it, protecting yourself. But I was blindsided. So there was nothing that I could do. I'm overpowered. So this attack, and of course, it was not something that I was expecting. So yeah, it's hard. But when I saw that, I was so grateful that it was exposed, that he was exposed for that attack, so that people can know who he truly is. And it then hurt for her, because not only is it internal hurt, but it's physical hurt as well. When you're sitting up here with a big knot on your face, and you're going back and looking at the pictures. And I was so grateful, because I thought like I thought my eye was good. Like I ran to my neighbors, like half dressed. And my neighbor
Mm,
was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then I thought about it. I'm half dressed. And it hit me. She has a husband. Oh Lord, I can't be. So I ran back to my house and I
mm.
put on the robe, and then I ran back to her house again. And so I called my family, and they were all screaming, yelling, cursing. My mom was in a fit of rage. And so my brother-in-laws, everybody wanted to attack. And so they called the cops. The cops came, and then they just took it from there. And so it really is a healing process. It's going to take a while to heal from that experience, because again, like I said, the trust is no longer there. And it was very scary. It was a very scary situation.
I'm so happy that you came through that on the other side with God's grace. Have you ever told anybody any of this?
Well, I intend to
Not
write.
that you should. I'm just asking. Is this not the first time you're talking about this, is it?
No, 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 no.
Okay,
Whenever we
okay.
our movie showings, people know outright that this is in part based on a lot of the events that took place in both the relationship as well as the attack.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So we show no, we let people know, we educate them, and we say, hey, we have people here to help you. The first time we premiered the movie, we had people that were triggered. And so we had people there from the Family Place and from the African American Domestic Violence Council, Teresa Little and her people. They literally had to minister to people, and they were actually looking for they were getting ready to place one of the ladies that came to the movie in one of the shelters to get her away from her situation. It literally, I'm telling you, that's what we wanted to do, to help someone recognize and realize you may not make it out alive if you stay in the situation. These people need help. You can't help them. Maybe God can deliver them or whatever, but these people are angry, they're sick. Some of these people are undiagnosed. So you can't help these people when you think, I see these signs from this person. Something's not right, but it'll be okay. So you overlook these warning signs. We tell people the movie is therapy, because last night, again, Dr. Hornbuckle said, oh, wow, I was watching this movie. Oh my God, this happened to me. This happened to me. I was, somebody dragged me down the stairs. And so we make it known, and we make it known for a reason, so that other people feel compelled to say, I'm not going to hide it anymore. I'm not going to be ashamed anymore. And so when they see this movie, you have every emotion. You laugh, you cry, you learn statistics. 1 in 4 women, 1 in 7 men. There's a man in the movie, in our movie. He was abused by his wife for 23 years in real life, and was getting ready to kill himself, and out of nowhere a friend appears. So that lets you know the power of telling a story. Men are ashamed. There is a men's shelter here run by Teresa Little. In that shelter, there are men running away from women, and they can take their kids there. It's one of two
Wow.
in the United States.
That's crazy. That's crazy. What do you see for yourself in the future, Tamika? I know that you're ambitious. First of all, let's just back for a bit. Where can people see this movie? Because we want people to see the movie. Tell us where you can see it, girl. Tell it.
Okay, so for Deep Seated Thoughts, we are now waiting. We've signed a contract. We're waiting to see where it will stream for that movie. But the other movies, The Grimy Situation, Irreversible Desires, most of those movies are on Amazon Prime. Back to Basics is on Fossum as well as Amazon Prime. So a lot of the movies are on Prime. A lot of the movies are on Tubi. A lot of people talk bad about Tubi, but if you look, a lot of celebrities are coming back to put their movies on there, because Tubi pays the most to independent filmmakers.
Got you.
Last year or a couple years ago, they paid over $900 million to independent filmmakers. So there's money to be made, and of course, it's also a platform for you to get your feet wet, for you to learn the film industry, for you to meet the gurus and the Tyler Perrys and all the people that are out there. But yes, so those are the platforms. We're waiting for the Deep Seated Thoughts platform to come out. And once we do, we'll post it. We'll let everybody know so they can watch it because people are going to definitely want that.
Got you. First of all, I just want to take the time out to thank you for taking time out of your Memorial Day weekend to come to People's Street and chill with me. And
Absolutely.
then number two, I just want to just say you're just so brave. You know what I'm saying? And you never know what somebody going through. You know what I'm
Ever.
saying? That is the honest to God truth. Like I had no idea Dr. Tamika, had gone through this and praise God that she came through on the other side and
Yeah.
still coming through. God's still in the blessing business. Where do you see yourself in 5 years, Dr. Tamika?
So in 5 years, I see myself hopefully directing a film. We have about three more movies we are getting ready to work on, and they're they're going to be impactful as well. Gene Mason, we're going to tell his story, the one who was abused by his wife for over 20 years and stayed
Mm.
because he wanted to keep his kids together. And his story is just, oh my God! Like when we first sat down to talk to him about his story, we were in tears because it's a story that you would think like, is this real? So that, and then we have another story coming out, a spinoff of Deep Seated Thoughts, the detectives in the movie. We're gonna have an actual movie with them, and then the third movie is a movement that happened back in Philadelphia many years ago. It was a movement called Move, and I don't know if you've ever heard of Move. Yeah.
I know all about it. In fact, I did medical school in Philadelphia, Dr. Tamika. So I know about move. That was messed up, man. Real
Yeah.
bad.
Well, the
Well,
government what dropping they did something to them, but shot them up and all the stuff that happened to them. And so we're gonna at some point go out there because there are some offspring still alive, and then a couple still locked up in prison from that movement. And so we've been looking at documentaries and talking about it. So we have a lot of projects coming up. I want to both direct, I want to act, I want to write. And that's where in the next 5 years I see myself doing it pretty much full time because I'm gonna do education for the next 2 to 3 years, and then I'm gonna hang the hat in that arena and then just work on it full time.
girl, I am proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm inspired by you and anything that I can do to help. Also, Dr. Tamika, like I said, I interviewed, Ashley Harris, who is the president of a domestic violence organization, Concrete Roads International. She's also my Spelman sister. And, I think one of the things that I feel like I'm kind of been called to do is to put people together. I'd like to have maybe some shows, with some panels of people that have,
Okay.
you know what I'm saying? Synergy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, if that's something that you'd be interested in at some point, I'd
Yes.
love, you know what I'm saying? And we can help some of these ladies and the men that are going through these things and but Dr. Tamika, tell everybody where they can follow you. Listen, y'all follow my girl, Dr. Tamika, and she again, I think she may be Jamaican. She ain't not just from Louisiana because she got about a million jobs. Educator, actress, writer, podcast host, fitness guru. You wrote a book too, right? Tell us about your book and tell us where they can get it from.
Okay, so the book is called Mentally Fit, and the book is actually on Amazon, and it's also on Spark, I believe it is. It's been a minute because I wrote the book several years ago. But yeah, they can go to Amazon and they can purchase the book there called Mentally Fit, emotionally, physically, spiritually, everything. It's the holistic approach to wellness. Follow me on IG at Dr. Tamika M. It's Tomekia. as well as Facebook, Dr. Tamika Manning, and then TikTok, Dr. Zabella.
There you have it. You know what I'm saying? Nobody does it better. Everything is bigger and better in Texas. And we all know that Dr. Tamika is bigger and better. Girl, you have a great weekend.
All right, you too. Thank you for having me on.
Hey, thank you for coming, and let's do it again, like Mavis Staples.
Do it again.
All right, bye.
All right. Take care.